sorry. Shouldn't laugh when I say brutal murder. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn and this is Here There Be Magic, where we talk about the magic of all things storytelling. So even though it is solidly still the middle of summer vacation, I have been thinking about school recently. More specifically, I've been thinking about books set at boarding schools. I've been reading about boarding schools in books since before I can remember, and I've always found them to be extremely fascinating. And I think that Twitter user Icona Writes summarized it really well when she tweeted, "Children love books about boarding schools because they love the idea of living with their friends in a single building where magical things happen. A school is just a plot device to create what many humans, young and old, crave, a walkable, close-knit community." Which, like, retweet. But also, as I was working on this video, I found myself wondering why the boarding school as a setting continues to work in young adult books. Because after all, the older you get, the less magical any school becomes. I do actually have an idea as to why, but before I tell you that, I need to share with you some of my favorite boarding schools from books, starting with Pemberley Academy from Accomplished by Amanda Quain. The Darcys have a reputation to uphold at Pemberley Academy, but after last year's incident with Wickham Foster, Georgie is more infamous than beloved. This year she's put together a 3-step plan for becoming the perfect Darcy. Step 1, re-ingratiate herself with the marching band. Step 2, forget about Wickham and his lies. And step 3, get her brother off her back by secretly matchmaking him with his classmate Lizzie. It'll be difficult, but she should be able to pull it off with some help from her friend Avery, as long as she can keep Wickham out of her way. This just so happens to be one of 2 Pride and Prejudice reimaginings on this list, and neither one of them centers Lizzie as the main character, although I do have a third one that I could have included, but I wanted to keep it down to 5. Anyway, I'm a fan of Pride and Prejudice reimaginings, and a lot of the modern day ones like to set themselves at boarding schools, probably because they are a really good place to examine class dynamics, just like Pride and Prejudice does. In particular, I really love any Pride and Prejudice reimagining that gives Georgiana Darcy more agency within the story. And so of course I was always going to love this one because Georgie gets to be front and center as she struggles to pull her life back together. This is actually the book that got me thinking about boarding schools as a setting and inspired me to do a boarding school recommendation video. I was lucky enough to get an arc of it, and if you want to hear more of my thoughts, you can check out the reading vlog that I did. I'll link to it somewhere around here. I'm filming this well in advance, but if you're watching it on release day, then Accomplished is actually set to release tomorrow, July 26th. So you still have time to go ahead and pre-order it and enter into that pre-order campaign. And if you're watching it any day after, you can just go ahead and purchase it. I'll have the link to do so, as well as purchase links for every other book in this video down in the description. Next, we have Winfield Academy from This May End Badly by Samantha Markum. The girls of Winfield Academy have been feuding with their neighbors, the boys of the Weston School, for a century. Doe is ready to spend her senior year winning the prank war she's been waging against her nemesis, the Boy King of Weston, 3. After it's announced that the 2 schools will be merging next year, she decides to take things up a notch by striking a deal to fake date 3's cousin, Wells. Doe would do anything to protect the Winfield legacy she's so proud to be part of, which means keeping Winfield and Weston apart. But when a teacher long suspected of predatory behavior begins targeting a younger Winfield girl, Doe might have to put her rivalry aside in order to help bring the truth to light. I loved this book so much. Doe is such an interesting character because for most of the book there is no line she is not willing to cross to protect the school that she loves. But at the same time she's fighting so hard to protect her school and its legacy, she's also having to come face to face with the idea that that legacy might be somewhat tarnished. Not only because of one predatory teacher, but because the idea that Winfield was founded upon is actually becoming outdated. it may be best for everyone involved if the Winfield girls and the Weston boys can finally set aside their rivalry. Next we have Pacific Crest Academy from Being Mary Bennet by J.C. Peterson. Marnie Barnes has come to the unfortunate realization that she is the Mary Bennet of her family. Unwilling to accept her unfortunate, forgettable Bennet sister fate, she enlists the help of her bubbly roommate to transform herself into a leading lady. Like Lizzie Bennet, or at least a little bit more like her perfect older sister Lindy, the best way to get out of her sister's shadow is to win the coveted Hunter Prize, which she might just be able to do with some help from a cute boy and some even cuter shelter dogs. That's right, it's Pride and Prejudice reimagining number 2, this time with Mary Bennet front and center. I have related to Marnie Barnes for a number of reasons, one of the big ones being that at the very beginning of the book, she is trying to get transferred into a single room because she does not feel like she gets along with her roommate. Which was me freshman year. Luckily for Marnie, her roommate is actually the coolest person in the world, a really great friend, and willing to help her do this sort of total transformation of her life. The idea of even having a roommate to begin with, though, is so quintessentially boarding school, especially when you're in high school and you won't have to worry about roommates until college. Also quintessentially boarding school, competing against your peers for an insane amount of money to do some sort of like really cool project. Marnie's project for the Hunter Prize is called Bark Books, and she's pairing children with dogs to help them get over their reading shyness. And that's just the cutest thing in the world, and it means there's a lot of dogs in the book, and who doesn't love that? Next we have L'Académie de Marie from One for All by Lillie Lainoff. Tanya de Boss has always dreamed of following in her musketeer father's footsteps. Everyone thinks that her frequent dizzy spells make her too weak, but she feels the strongest when she has a sword in her hand. After her father is brutally murdered, Tanya honors his dying wish by attending finishing school. Except beneath its finishing school facade, L'Académie de Marie is actually a secret training program for female musketeers. With her new sisterhood by her side, Tanya soon finds herself investigating a plot to murder the King of France. Is there anything more fun than a girl with a sword? Yes, 4 girls with swords. Just like the author of the book, Tanya has postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which means she suffers these very intense dizzy spells and has been sort of excluded from society because of that, and has some issues when it comes to trusting both other people and her own strength. Watching her bond with her sisterhood and learn to trust both them and her own skills and know when to lean on them and that she can lean on them is absolutely the best part of this book. Last but certainly not least, we have Ellingham Academy from Maureen Johnson's Truly Devious books. Ellingham Academy, where learning is a game, is a private school famous for cultivating the brightest young minds in America, for free. It's also the site of the crime of the century. Shortly after the school's opening in 1936, founder Albert Ellingham's wife and daughter were kidnapped. Although his wife's body was recovered days later, young Alice Ellingham remains unfound. Aspiring detective Stevie Bell is starting her first year at Ellingham, determined to solve the kidnapping cold case. But things become infinitely more complicated when one of her classmates turns up dead under mysterious circumstances. This is one of my favorite murder mystery series of all time, and the first 3 books are all set at Ellingham Academy. The story is told through multiple points of view and follows multiple timelines, mainly Stevie's timeline in the current day as she tries to unravel both the mysteries of the past and present, but you also get to go back in time to 1936 and the years surrounding it and learn a little bit about everyone who was involved in the kidnapping and all of the secrets that they were hiding. The thing that really makes these 3 books for me is Ellingham Academy. It is such a great setting. It's this super old, super mysterious private school at the top of a mountain in Vermont. There's only one way in and no outsiders are allowed, and it's filled with some of the brightest minds in the world. Then add on top of that a decades-old unsolved kidnapping, a mysterious death, and a strange letter that may link the two of them. It's so good, it's so suspenseful, and because it's such a secluded, close-knit community, there are only a few people who could be behind it all. So, why does the boarding school still loom so large in the young adult imagination? Well, I actually think that Icona Wright's point about close-knit communities actually applies to young adults just as much as children. Super anticlimactic, I know, but as someone who's hoping to work with and create stories for young adults throughout my life, it's important for me to keep in mind that despite being able to mostly handle themselves, young adults are still learning how to navigate all of life's big problems. And no matter how old you are, a fictional boarding school can be a really great place to explore them. From prank wars and roommate drama to a reheated cold case, these 5 books, and even more like them, all explore what happens when things go wrong in these close-knit communities. More importantly, they also explore how to fix them. Whether it's accepting help, or making amends for past wrongs, or oftentimes both, the solution always lies in leaning into your community. Alright, that is all that I have for y'all today. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and you want to see more from my channel, remember to click that subscribe button. Don't forget to check out the purchase links for all of the books I mentioned in this video in the description. With that being said, my name is Evelyn. I make new videos every magical Monday, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye!